So, hey guys, welcome to the podcast portion of the show. And I'm sitting here tonight with, you want to introduce yourself?
Dave from Dairokkan. I am the guitarist.
And just as a formality, what are your pronouns, Dave?
He, his, him. Pretty
Cool.
old school, but open to everybody's trip, man. Everybody's on a different trip. So
Yeah. And where do you live if you feel comfortable? Or like, where are you based out of, I guess?
we're all from Vero Beach. Well, I don't want to say from Vero Beach. We all live in Vero Beach. We've all been here for over 20 years. Some of us from different parts of the country, but we've all been in Vero for quite some time.
Man, that's sick. And, so, Dave from Dairokkan, we're gonna start off. If you don't know, this week we are splitting the interview into two different segments, and this first part we are going to just dive into who is Dave from Dairokkan. It's not going to be that serious though. So, Dave, first question.
Yeah.
Are you a punk rocker?
Oh, right out of the gate. All right. All right. So I'm going to struggle with this one like you did because it's a loaded question. It really depends on your perspective, I guess, of what defines punk.
Yeah.
If you define punk as nonconformist, then I am most definitely punk as fuck. If you define punk as like, you know, tall mohawks, studded jackets, a lot of patches, I'm not gonna look like a punk. I'm gonna look like your 90s skate punk kid. You know, I kind of wear the same clothes I did when I was skating in the 90s. You know, kind of plateaued there. But as far as punk spirit, for sure, man. Like it's all DIY. It's all you doing you, and the spirit of it, for sure. But to pick me out in the crowd, like again, I'm gonna struggle with like you. It depends on what your definition of punk is. You know, when I get down to the core of it and the spirit behind it, I'm not trying to be anyone but me. So I think that's punk as fuck.
So you take your definition of punk as more of like a spiritual thing. Like you said, the non-conformist, just doing you, straight DIY shit, you know? So
for sure.
That's kind of where you take it instead of like the whole mohawk, leather jacket, you know?
Well, hey, I got a lot of friends that rock that look, man. Real. I got a lot of friends that rock that look. So I'm not gonna throw any shade on them, but that's not me. That's not where how I'm expressing who I am or where I'm coming from. But you know, some people have a perception of punk, I guess you could say, and when they see you out in public or just whatever, it's like that guy doesn't look punk. He's got a fucking beard. He's dressed like wearing he's wearing Dickies shorts, and you know what I mean. Like it's I don't know. It really depends on who you ask and like kind of where your launch point into punk was as well. You know, like I come from the skate punk. That was my launch point. So that's my frame of reference for everything. It's like coming from that avenue, not so much the oi stuff, which is cool. I mean, I dig it. And the more I've gotten into punk, the more I dig it, but just, you make up your mind. You tell us if we're punk.
It is kind of like, I'd say it's like when you got into the quote-unquote scene and also where you got into the scene, because you said, like, what, Dickies shorts and a beard? That is the entire St. Louis hardcore scene right now, so.
For sure, bud.
Yeah.
And like, I guess go a little bit more background. I mean, I initially, as far as aggressive, like, raw music, I my introduction to all that was like thrash metal. So I came from more of a metal background, and it wasn't until I started skating with some kids that I discovered like punk and, you know, like Fugazi and Propaganda and like all these really cool bands, Lagwagon, like, but I was coming from like Sepultura and, you know, like just like really heavy shit. And, but I got an appreciation like skating with all those cats, and, that was kind of like, that opened the floodgates for me, because I was kind of burnt out on the pretentiousness of metal. I was like, I want a little something more raw.
Well,
You know?
there's people, some people could kind of say there's not much of a connection besides just being loud, angry shit between punk and metal. But thrash metal, there is a huge connection with skate punk, especially when you're talking about Lagwagon and Propaganda, because Lagwagon's, you've listened to their first record, I assume, right? Duh.
Oh yeah, Duh was my introduction.
There's like metal riffs everywhere on that fucking thing, so.
Dude, even their last fucking album, they brought the heat.
Oh,
like
shit,
that opening track is like, Jesus Christ, bud. All right. So like, I have an affinity for those punk bands that kind of lean on that thrash side. Like, I mean, no shit. Like, Propaganda is my favorite punk band, like air quotes. But it's because of those thrash elements are present, and the level of songwriting is like, I don't know, what those guys are operating on a different plane.
They're so good. Fucking amazing, man.
Yeah, they're so good live. If you can ever catch a Propaganda show, go see that shit, because they bring it. God,
I wish I lived in, what is it, like Manitoba or whatever.
Yeah, I know. We just saw them in Tampa not too long ago. That was pretty fucking cool, man, because I think it was the fourth time I've seen them. Oh, and when the show was over, since it was a small venue in Tampa, they hung out and like shook hands with the crowd. And at first I was like, you know, they're probably only doing it for a second. So I went and got a beer. And then they were lingering, so I'm like, man, I'm not missing this opportunity. I went up and shook hands with Chris and George, and oh man, it was just like blew my mind. I'm like, you guys, you don't know what your music means to me, you know. It's fucking, I fanboyed out for a second, but yeah,
so
those guys are operating. Those guys are operating on such a crazy high level, and they're still down to earth, good Canadian boys, you know. And girl.
Yeah. Sue Lynn, right? I think?
Yeah, Sue Lynn, yeah. She didn't hang out too much, but I did get to shake her hand. But she didn't hang out as much as the rest of the guys. I think it's because, you know, the new person role.
Yeah.
Like, that attention's, you know, they did a lot of albums before she was even in the mix, so.
Well, I was prepared to ask you how'd you get into punk, but now I'm interested. How did you get into thrash metal? Like, where in there did you start?
All right, check this out. All right, so like, you know, when you're a little kid, you listen to like whatever the fuck's on the radio, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, before I discovered anything heavy at all, it was like my dad's records, my mom's country, so a lot of country in the house, and some like R&B and shit. But this neighbor across the street, they had a really cool uncle, and he had this, like, back in the day, there was all the tape trading with like thrash metal scene. So it had like Metallica, it had like, Jesus Christ, I'm blanking right now, but it had Iron Maiden, it had like what was going on kind of underground at the time. And, I'm showing my age. I'm old as hell. Anyway.
So what's the, not trying to call you out on your age or whatever, but like what's the time frame of this? Because you said Metallica and Iron Maiden, and it's like, I don't,
this was 1986.
Oh,
so I'm tipping my hat on how old I am. This was 1980, so I'm still a little kid. I'm still a kid.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like I was like a teenager or anything. I'm very little. and I heard it was Creeping Death was the one that really did it for me. That song came on, and I was like, holy crap, this is powerful, this is fast, this is angry, this is like, I don't know, it was dark. I had a kind of messed up childhood. I'm a cancer survivor, so I've always kind of been attracted to, yeah. So I've kind of always been attracted to darker things that, I don't know, kind of, you can kind of like channel that negative shit out through. And, so when that came across my life, I went full in, and that's when I was like, Mom, I want to learn how to play guitar. He got me a guitar. I was like learning, you know, like Ride the Lightning, Master Puppets, riffs and shit.
Hell yeah.
And yeah, that was my entry point into like music, into heavy stuff. And it wasn't until closer to like, I think it was my freshman year. Yeah, it was my freshman year, skating. And I started skating with this kid. He was a little older than us. I think he was a senior, Gordy. And, Gordy turned me on to like Fugazi and like a lot of cool, punk stuff that I would have never came across my radar. And, I was vibing with it. I was like, man, this is awesome, dude. You know, took me a minute because I'm coming from that like metal, like, I don't know, point of view.
Yeah.
Like, you know, because everything in metal is like, it's almost like classical music, just played fucking really fast. But, and the punk, it was so stripped down. But what I appreciate about those bands was like, they were so raw. It was just like a raw, like outpouring. You know, it wasn't like, we're going to polish this up and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, I need to get this out of me kind of thing. That release really like grabbed my attention, and I just kind of went in from there.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, especially for a kid who's had kind of a mixed up, I don't want to like put words in your mouth, but a mixed up childhood raising. I'm cool saying that, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Especially because if you're just like listening to shit on the radio or your mom's country records, like there's not going to be any music that is anywhere close to talking about something you've experienced, you know, especially with just the high octane fucking thrash and energy that metal gives you. So
yeah, for sure. And I think that was the insane pull for me, was like, it's like finally something I'm resonating with that like is drawing on those dark experiences I've had, but like instead of festering in my head, I can like get it out through, you know, whatever, cranking your Walkman to 11 and, you know, whatever I was doing at the time. And then eventually skating. And like, yeah, the stuff on the radio, I mean, the 80s radio, come on, man. I look back on it with a fondness now for the nostalgia, you know, there's certain songs or whatever, but at the time it was like there was music in itself didn't grab me until I discovered that powerful, darker content. And then that's when it was like, oh shit, I have to do this. I have to be a musician. I have to write these songs. You know, I didn't know this was possible kind of thing. It's like one of those moments.
Now, because you mentioned Metallica and you're kind of starting on that level with them and Iron Maiden, I gotta ask, which is like, are they the band out of the big four, or do you have a more controversial opinion when it comes to that?
No, I mean, I soured on them a long time ago, bro, to be honest with you. I soured on them in 91. That was the first time I've ever cried. That wasn't involved in like, that album broke my heart, man. That album broke my heart. Cause I was at that time I just kept getting into progressively faster and more brutal and more raw stuff. And that album was so polished and like,
yeah. And
I get it. There's some good songs, and if that's your gateway into this, cool, man. I'm not a gatekeeper. I'm not. But yeah, in that moment, that like I kept skipping tracks on the CD, waiting for something to pop, and nothing popped. But that band, even though you know, I learned to play the actual, you know, riffs and stuff. That's how I kind of learned how to play. I don't know. I soured on them years ago.
Yeah, I think most people have. So.
Yeah.
So, what would you consider to be like your all-time favorite metal band?
Let's double back. As far as the big four, I'm always gonna give props to Megadeth. Dave Mustaine's voice isn't the greatest, but man, rest in peace. That's just a flawless guitar album. Like, it's just flawless. And they've got a lot of other good songs too. But as far as who should be in there, Creator, fucking Havoc. I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of other fucking Sepultura, man. Before the Cavaleras left, that was my shit. Really, like, Metallica was kind of the gateway to thrash, but when I came across Sepultura, that's where it was at, man. Like, yeah. I remember any time I was doing anything, like, whether it was skating or playing some b-ball or fucking lifting weights, it didn't matter. Like, Sepultura was like, I gotta get amped. I'm throwing on Arise. I'm throwing on Beneath the Remains. Like, those were my shit. That got me through high school, like, well, and punk. And because of that time, I had started getting into Fugazi and Propaganda and shit. So.
Yeah. So, would you say, what would be, I'm gonna assume Fugazi, but what is your favorite, like, quote-unquote punk act? Because there's a lot of crossover, so I had to put it in quotes.
Oh, yeah, my favorite punk? You know, that's a mood thing, dude. Like, 'cause, like, sometimes I'm really into, like, vocal harmonization and stuff, and I really want to hear, like, Face to Face is my jam. I'll put that on if I'm really in the mood for it. Fugazi is more of, like, I want to hear some good drum and bass, man. Like, those guys, those bass lines are just fucking incredible. And the lyrics are great. They're great songwriters. And then, you know, I don't know. It depends on mood, 'cause, like, I'll fuck around with, like, Leftover Crack and, like, No Cash and Choking Victim. Like, I'll get in that mood.
Yeah.
You know. You know, and I've seen Leftover Crack, and that was still one of the top 5 shows I've ever been to. It was so cool, man. Still, I'm in Gainesville, and it was just a little tiny place, and it was incredible. Might have been how drunk I was, but who knows? It was a great show.
So, shit, let me think. Is there anything else you want to say personally with your side on music before we drift into more stuff about the band? Or
for sure. Yeah, you know, I get it as far as like I'm the old guy. I am the oldest guy in the band, so I get shit about that at practice too, and like I keep referencing 80s bands and early 90s and shit. but I stay current too, man. Like, I listen to a lot of the new music, and I try not to be that cliche that's like, music peaked when I was in high school. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of new music that just comes out, and my playlist, my personal playlist, it just goes all over the map, and there's so much good music happening right now, especially from artists that are flying under a lot of people's radars. There's a lot of good stuff, and we got a thriving scene here in Vero for I should say the Treasure Coast area. Not everybody's from Vero, but especially hardcore. If you're into hardcore, there's so many good hardcore bands going on right now. It's crazy. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm coming from on the personal Dave front. Let's talk about Dairokkan.
Okay, so we are back with Dave from Dairokkan, and we're gonna talk about Dairokkan and I guess kind of the formation of the band, and specifically now with Wheels. But let's take it back to the start. How did you guys come together, and around what time was that?
Oh man, all right, buckle in. You ready for a tale? Here it comes.
I'm ready.
This band started way back in 2009 as a little side project. I was at the time I was in a band called Whiskey Dick and the Beer Goggles, and me and our original drummer Ryan Stickle, nickname was Stick for a drummer. Imagine that. And we just started getting together and jamming, and in that process we had wrote Impossible, and I think we had started a couple of the other songs. I wouldn't call them songs. We just, it was like a collection of riffs kind of scenario.
Yeah.
And then Whiskey Dick played our last show, and Jacob, our drummer now, was like, well, what are you doing? And I was like, I'll probably go all in with Stick, because we had already had a little momentum going. And he came in, and originally he was our bass player, and which was cool because Jacob and I go way back. Stick and I go way back. Like, that's the main thing with Dairokkan is we're, even though we're all musicians, we all go way back as friends. So there's like this shorthand that everybody has because we've all known each other for so long. But anyway, Jacob came in, and we just started writing, and we had, I want to say, like 4, maybe 5 songs. And that at that point, Julian had just moved back from California. Excuse me. Goodness is catching up. Julian just moved back from California, and and Jacob was like, well, what about for vocals? What about Jules? And I was like, I fucking love his voice, man. Hell yeah. And he writes. He's so prolific. Like, he writes crazy. So he came in the mix, and that was the original lineup, was Stick on drums, me on guitar, Jacob on bass, or now our drummer on bass, and Julian on vocals. And we rocked that for about 4 or 5 years, maybe 6. I'm pretty bad with time. I'm sorry, guys, if I'm getting this wrong. But we did that for a few years, playing shows, writing songs, doing covers, and then the lineup change came. And,
wait 1 second. I am so sorry.
I hear it.
Yeah.
You're good, bud.
Hey, give me 20 minutes, okay? Seriously.
Yeah, I got you.
No, not talking to you. I got a little critter up in my cage.
I hear it, buddy.
I can't right now, dude. Just go for a little bit. It's the problem with quarantine, man. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, you're good, bud. You're good. I get it, man. I get it. Where was I? All right, so okay, first lineup change. I don't want to get into all that because it gets sticky, and ultimately there's no bad blood, so I don't want to let's let sleeping dogs lie. Everybody's good with everybody, but there was a lineup change. So at that point, it became what we've termed Dairokkan 2.0. So we did a 3-piece. Jacob and Julian split time on the drums and split time on bass. So like in the middle of our set, they would switch kind of deal. And we did that for probably about a year or so. And our buddy Alton Giltstrap, who is a fucking local legend, man, just an insanely talented bass player, super cool guy. I got nothing but love for Alton. Hope you hear this, bud. But he came in. I think he came to a rehearsal and he was tripping. And we played Orange Drink, and he was like, man, if you guys ever want a second guitarist, I'm in. I was like, we could use the bass player. So then he showed up, and we became Dairokkan 3.0. Jacob full-time on drums, Alton on bass, Julian on vocals, and we really started to turn a corner there. It was like we were getting our shit together kind of deal, because for so long we're a little bit of a train wreck. I mean, we did make fans, but I think people were fans of like the potential, not really the execution.
Mm.
And in the songs we were still writing good stuff. I feel songs I want to hear. And
Now, around what time are we with Dairokkan 3.0? What's like the timeline here?
okay, what time? I'm gonna ballpark it at like 2014, maybe 15,
Cool.
somewhere in there. No, that's too far back. It's 2020, Dave. All right, so let's ballpark it at 2017, because Jordan's been in the band about 2 years. So we did a year with Alton, and we were getting everything was clicking again, and we were actually really gaining momentum as a live band, like really dialing it all in. And I mean, we've been playing these songs long enough. You figure we figured it out. But really getting our live performance down and winning over a lot of people and stuff. And then Alton had to bow out. Again, totally cool. Everybody's, on it wasn't a bad terms scenario.
Yeah.
Everybody's cool with everybody. And then Jordan has been a long-time musician in the area, a long-time friend. He's been in some great bands over the years. He's a good songwriter, and we approached him like, hey, we need a bass player. And he said he was interested, and we're like, hey, we're really trying to turn a corner, though. Don't be 1 foot in, 1 foot out, kind of deal. And he was all in. And I tell you, once Jordan came in the mix, we started to turn a corner with Alton, but we really turned a corner with Jordan. Like, it all just clicked. It was like the final piece of everything just finally clicked. Did a year, and this including me breaking my arm and not playing shows for a couple months, but we did yeah, I broke my left arm on vacation. I fucking jumped from the golf cart and fucking broke my wrist.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. Alcohol, man. And so, but we did a year with him of playing shows, and we're so solid. We're like, we should finally, record this album that we've been working on for a decade, because we can't get our shit together. And we finally got it done, and I'm really fucking proud of it, man, because I don't think it would have happened if Jordan hadn't come in the mix. So, Jordan, I hope you're listening. I love you.
So, I want to talk track by track about that record, but just because we're talking about Jordan right now, there's so many there's the whole thing in punk about like bass intros and shit like that, and there's so many amazing bass intros on Now With Wheels. Was that all Jordan, or was that like Alton, or?
No. Okay, for instance, now Jim Cantore, first song on the album, that is definitely Jordan, because that's the newest song on Now With Wheels. We had wrote it maybe 3 to 4 months before we tracked that. No, I don't even think it was that long, bro, because I think we recorded, maybe we had played it like 6 or maybe 10 rehearsals before we recorded that song. So that's very fresh.
Yeah.
And Jacob, our drummer, actually wrote that song on an acoustic guitar. He had the lyrics. I think Julian fudged some moved some lines around, to kind of make it make it flow a little better. But Jacob had the nuts and bolts of lyrics and chord structure. And then me and Jordan just ran with it. Jordan came up with that sick ass bass line, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to let you have the spotlight here. I'm just going to accent when the drums come in. You know what I mean? Like, that bass line's sick. And I'm like, all right, this is your spotlight moment. And just let him shine. And, Splangies, he starts Splangies as well. Now Jacob wrote that, bass line. That was originally, that's like even before Julian, I think when Julian started to join the band, We had already started hashing that out. So that goes way back.
Mm.
So that was Jacob. And it's just, but when Jordan came in, like, every time we've had a lineup change, we've said the same thing. Make the songs yours. You know what I mean? Don't just play what the last guy played. Like, you do you. Like, express you. I don't care if the songs change. Like, express yourself, because I think it's going to be better. Number one, if you're enjoying yourself. And number two, if, like, you're injecting a little bit of you into it. So. But yeah.
Personally,
okay.
what were you going to say?
No, I'm just rambling now. I'm 4 beers in.
Hey, I mean, it's 4:35 where you guys are, so pretty appropriate during quarantine.
Yeah, and I had a hot day in the sun, so I'm kind of over it. I'm like, I want a beer.
Personally, for me, whenever I kind of have go-to songs for when I'm talking to someone in person and they're like, oh, what's this band? Like, what do they sound like? And my go-to song for you guys is Jim Cantore, just because of that, just like, I don't want to like overbloat or overhype it, but it's really legendary bass intro because it stands out, it's unique, and it's a great intro to not only the record but to you guys and kind of the band's whole feel, so.
Oh, for sure. And Bud, buckle your seatbelts, because what we're writing now, there's some insanely good bass lines. Jordan's come to play. But yeah, and when we were, like I said, the writing stages, the early stages when Jacob pitched it, just him and an acoustic at the warehouse where we rehearsed. He just, picked up acoustic. He's like, I got something, and he had some chord progressions, some vocal stuff, and we just took the baton and ran with it. But when Jordan whipped that bass line out, I was like, Jesus Christ, man, we struck gold with this guy, because it's so infectious. Like, every time I hear it, it gets me going.
It is.
It's a good bass line. He's a great bassist.
Yeah.
You hear that, Jordan? I'm blowing smoke up Jordan's ass through this.
Well, I mean, shit, you guys at least from like what I could hear from your music, you guys are all great musicians,
Yeah, we try, buddy. We try. Well, I mean, like, it's more about like finding what you do well and leaning into that.
Yeah.
It's because, like, if you ask me to play, like, I don't know, some Dimebag Darrell Solar or something, I'm gonna laugh in your face. I can't play that. I'm not a good guitarist. You know what I mean? But if you find what you do well, lean into it. I think that's what we've all done. Because, like, Julian's found his voice. Because, I mean, I remember, like, when Julian did vocals in The Irritants, you couldn't really understand anything he said, but you can totally understand every word on Now With Wheel. Well, I can, because I don't know about the general audience, but I can understand every lyric,
Do you think you guys kind of have sort of a genre mix on your hands with your sound? Do you think that's why there's that mix, is because it's just figure out what you're good at and then like hone in on that and like play that, and then all those different kind of things meld into the Dairokkan sound? Do you think that's accurate?
Oh, for sure. And it's also a philosophy. Like, ever since day one, the mission statement has been to not repeat ourselves. And you can hear that on Now With Wheels. Like, none of those songs sound like the song prior to it. There's elements and there's a Dairokkan sound. And if you're, really, really good at reading tea leaves, you can kind of hear how we write in there. There's, we like the curveballs. We like, I don't know how to put it in to certain terms. We have a shorthand at practice, but we like to keep the audience on its toes. Like, you don't know what's coming next, kind of thing. And that's the mission statement, is to not repeat ourselves. And that's carried forward now to what we're writing now. It's nothing like Now with Wheels. So, like, I mean, there's elements, and it's still Dairokkan. It still has a Dairokkan sound, like the guitars sound a certain way, the bass sounds a certain way, the drums, the vocal. However, as far as, like, we're still pushing ourselves. We're still not wanting to, repeat. Like, it's not, some bands I've been in, personally, you find what you do well, and then you just stick to that. And that's not what we're about at all. We're about, like, okay, what else can we try? You know what I mean? Like, it just keeps getting, and we're not as experimental as like a Mr. Bungle or Igor or something like that, but we still do, like, try and keep that spirit of, like, innovation and just not repeating ourselves, not resting on your laurels. Just keep pushing it. See what else we can create. Do something new.
I mean, that's honestly kind of the perfect band strategy, because there's a lot of bands I like that stick to the same formula, and it does kind of get repetitive every now and then when it's like they're on their 7th album, you know.
Yeah, it's grating. Like, I fucking love Slayer. I've seen them live several times. I fucking love Slayer. However, when Slayer comes on my playlist, no more than 3 songs, and I'm out. You know what I mean? Like, I got my Slayer fix. I'm done. Like, they're all no shade on Slayer. Everybody, I love Slayer. I fucking love Slayer. I've seen them 6 times. Okay, calm down. But, it's just, that's just not what we're about. That's not our mission statement. Our mission statement is to keep doing new things, keep pushing it, and, you know, like a lot of the new stuff, like, we'll keep, it's like there's, we want to make sure we have a song that people can, like, mosh to. There's that kind of consideration going on for the live show, like, you know, and certain energies. However, as far as, like, the actual compositions go, we're like, let's try this. We've never done this. Or, you know, and then you just kind of follow the rabbit hole where that goes. And whatever it comes to be, comes to be. But, I don't know, we've definitely turned a corner, though, as far as writing and everything. With Jordan in the mix and being a band for way too long. We've turned a corner. I'm really proud of where we're going, and I'm extremely proud of Now with Wheels, dude, because you do not know the frustration of being a band for so long and not having anything to, like, you know, like, show for it. God, man, it was so rough. Those years were so rough, but I'm very proud of Now with Wheels, because it all did come together relatively quickly. Once Jordan came in the mix, within a year, we were tracking the album. We released the album. You've discovered us. Then it's kind of just, from then on, it's just been great, dude. Like, the exposure, everything, we're turning more heads. We're getting bigger shows. We opened up for Mariachi El Bronx. That was fucking rad. These guys are cool. And then the corona happened. So we'll see what happens when everything fires back up.
I mean,
sorry, where were we? I'm rambling, bud.
I think I think I was gonna ask about Mother of All Whores, but now I'm just I'm stuck in this conversation now.
Yeah. Go where the rabbit goes.
I mean, from my perspective, you kind of talked about sort of your perspective on the whole, like, our collaboration, I guess. I'm losing my words here. But from my perspective, it was like, we had that, we started up last summer, and we had those, like, initial crop of guys and those bands, and I love all of them, and they made and still make amazing music, and I'm still very proud of it. But it was finding I remember I was sitting, cause this was on vacation, I was sitting in a cabin in Bemidji, Minnesota, scrolling through Bandcamp, which I do like semi-religiously, just to find new guys, and I saw the album cover for Now with Wheels, and I was like, this seems interesting. Listen to Jim Cantore, and just mind blown. Don't, like, pause the album from there. Check just to see if you guys are signed or not.
Mm-hmm.
Just out of, like, curiosity, because I'm just like, oh my god. Just, like, a band that sounds this good on the label would be amazing. Saw that
Right.
you guys were still fully DIY. Listened to the rest of the album, and I'm like, well, I gotta shoot my shot now. And then it was, I think, you got back to me relatively quick, and you said, hey, let me, like, talk it over with the guys. And then, like, 3 days later, you guys were just in, and I was like, holy crap.
Yeah, because at that point, you know, like I'm the guy, but peek behind the curtain. Dave is the guy that runs all Dairokkan social media because the rest of the guys don't want to be a part of it, I guess. Actually, the only one that's even got a Facebook account is Jordan, and I think he logs on like once a month. But anyway, yeah, that Jim Cantore, that's a good piece of bait. Get you in the boat. Yeah, I mean, it's got a great bass line. It's got some great lyrics. Like if you really break down the lyrics to it, I'm proud of Jacob. Jacob's written a couple of songs lyrically. He wrote My Shoes Hurt. He wrote Nameless. He wrote Jim Cantore. Like I said, Julian had a punch up. I think he changed a couple lines or at least some wording or something to make it flow better. But the actual narrative or whatever is from Jacob. So he writes some good shit. We all do. And the thing is, like, Dairokkan's Democrat as far as like how we function is very democratic. Like there's no, okay, you write, you bring in the songs and we flush it out from there. That's not how it goes. Like I might have a song or some riffs and I'll pitch it and I'm like, this is what I'm hearing, and then we just like fuck with it till it's something everybody agrees on. And that carries on today. Like I'll bring in riffs or Jordan will bring in riffs, or Jacob pull out an acoustic guitar and start strumming some chord progressions, or Julian's got something, and then we just as a collective write from there.
That's great, man. Like that's kind of the ideal setup, you know.
I tell you what, if it wasn't ideal, I wouldn't be in this band for 11 fucking years. But I mean, because it's also, these are my buds. You know what I mean? Like we've all known each other for fucking ever, even before we were in bands together. Like, so there's that shorthand of friendship, and like nobody gets butthurt if you razz on them too hard at practice and all this shit. But I think that's what's kept us going for so long, is it's been a band of friends. And even though everybody's got talent and everybody pulls their weight on that end, if it wasn't for that like friends aspect, that bond we all have, I don't think we've gotten through half the shit we've gone through in a decade plus. Like we would have all just been like, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna start another band.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to keep you hanging on for too long, so.
Hey, bud, I'm good, but as long as you're good, I don't give a shit. I got nothing to do. It's quarantine.
That's true. I guess we can't dive into these all the way, but I do still want to go through the checklist here.
Hit your bullet points. Yeah, hit your bullet points. What do you got?
Okay, so Mother of All Whores, what is kind of the background for that song? What does it mean? How long has it been floating around? All that jazz.
All right, so the Mother of All Horrors is actually a quote from a show in the 90s on HBO called Mr. Show. And you would do well to familiarize yourself with that, because there's a lot of nods to that in our music. Anyway, The Mother of All Horrors is, that was the working title before there was even lyrics. And it's a riff I wrote, God, I think I was like 13 or something. And we were looking for songs to write for the album, or at that time for the set. And Jacob's like, you got anything? And I was like, well, I got this little riff I've been kicking around for too long. And then I pitched it to him, and we revved it up, put like all kinds of weird twists on it from what it originally was anyway. And then Julian came in with some lyrics, and we told him the working title, and he just made it about alcohol. And I was like, well, that's fucking perfect, man, because that is the mother of all horrors. Like, and he's got a little nod to The Simpsons in there. He's like, the cause of and solution to. And it's like, that's the cause of all your problems and solution to all your problems. So this whole, like, love affair with, like, yeah, we all like to drink, and we're looking forward to it at the end of the workday. But also, it's like you're paying for that company. I love that fucking line, because that's what it is. Especially, if a single guy fucking just keep slaving away make some other guy rich, and you're just downtrodden. It's like, what do you look forward to? You look forward to going to the bar, having a drink with your friends, that kind of thing. So it's kind of, Julian equated it to like the, lady of the night. You're just paying for her company, and she leaves, and then you're empty again. And it's kind of the love-hate relationship we have with alcohol. It's the same scenario. I say as I drink my beer.
I swear that I've heard, like, I've seen a demo version of it on YouTube that's different than the one that you hear on the album. Am I off, or does that ring a bell?
I thought I cleaned all that stuff, but it's possible there's one floating around there from Dairokkan 1.0, and I promise you it sounds drastically different than it does now. It's like we changed so much over those lineup changes and over the years, and just getting more comfortable with each other and finding what works, what doesn't. You know what? I'm gonna have to dig around on YouTube. I wouldn't mind for nostalgia's sake, just to hear the old crappy version. Oh, you know what? I had some stuff on Reverb Nation. I don't know if you ever came across that, but I just recently realized that was on there, so I wiped a bunch of stuff from Reverb Nation. That might have been it.
I'm not sure what it was. I found it like the week after you guys got on board, because I just like got bored and searched you guys on YouTube, saw if like you had like a live set or anything like that, and
right.
It's like Mother of All Horrors from like 2012 or something. So.
Oh yeah, 2012. That's 1.0 right there in all its glory. No shade. I have fond memories of the beginning stages too.
I mean, it rips still. Like, that's a good song, no matter what. So just with the way it's structured and all.
Yeah, but I think the bass line and the drums have changed significantly since 2012. Definitely, my riffs are still the same. I think maybe a couple subtle changes, but nothing major.
What about Impossible?
Oh, Impossible. Right. That was the very first song that was ever written for Dairokkan for this project. The original drummer Stick.
For Now With Wheels, or just all of Dairokkan?
All of Dairokkan.
Oh shit.
Because yeah, it's old, man. That's 2009, baby. We had, like I said, I was still in Whiskey Dick and the Beer Goggles, and our original drummer Stick and I had started jamming on like weekends and like days off and shit like that. And he had broke out this beat similar to what Jacob's doing on Now with Wheels, but kind of different. Like, it had a little different vibe. It was a little more groovy, little, not quite as high a tempo, and the tom fill's significantly different if you want to break it down, the mechanics for drummers. But anyway, I just played the first thing that came in my head, and then it turned into Impossible. That's how we pronounce it in the band. Instead of Impossible. I don't know why, because we're fucking stupid. But, and then that song, because there's elements of it that have a Fugazi kind of thing going on, and there's elements where it's, I don't even know how to categorize that song, but yeah, that's where it all started. That song is where it all started. And then our choices of covers and stuff to fill out our set and, whatnot. But that was the birth of Dairokkan, is that song. So,
Wow.
there you go. Yeah.
Shoot. Sorry, I'm getting sidetracked. Splangy's Unborn. Wait, is it Splangy or Splangy?
No, you had it right the first time. Splangy.
Okay.
That's my boy. What's up, Sean? I hope you're listening. All right, so we wrote that song. Again, most of our working titles wind up being our actual title. But that was the working title, was Splangy's Unborn, when it was just instrumental and we're just fucking around with it and shit. And that was Jacob on bass still, our drummer on bass. And he had that main bass line, and he also had that descending thing in the middle. And I was like, cool. And I kept, when I was learning it from or whatever, finding out what I was gonna do on guitar while he was playing it. And then I was like, it needs to go somewhere. And then I wrote the first riff, where the lyrics come in, and it just crushed. Like, it has so much like power. That still is, to be honest with you, that song, every time we play it live, that still is the one that pops. Jesus Christ, when that beat comes in, everybody loses their mind. Like, it's guaranteed to pop at every show, no matter how well we're playing. It always pops. And we would probably already been a band for a significant amount of time. Julian was already writing lyrics to stuff, and he was already in the mix. So it's still 1.0 though. That was still Dairokkan 1.0.
Wow.
Yeah.
Quarters Mostly.
Quarters Mostly is also a Mr. Show quote. And as far as lyric content, it was, even though it was written, the lyrics were probably written, I don't know, 2012-ish, somewhere around there, maybe 2011. It's about like the 08, 09 economy crash that happened and how everybody got fucked. And, again, that was a working title, Quarters Mostly. You know what? Here's an interesting fact about that song. I originally wrote that on an acoustic guitar, and it sounded a lot like About a Girl from Nirvana.
Oh, wow.
Can you imagine taking a song that sounds like About a Girl from Nirvana and turning it into that? Like, it was so stark how, like, it's like, well, we need another song, because we're in that hunger stage, writing. We want to break into more originals and less covers and kind of shit when we're playing shows. And I pitched it, and then, like, I had to transpose it to electric. I changed the riff instead of how I was playing on acoustic. I was like, well, what if I did this? Blah, blah, blah. And then it all just it came, you know what? For as weird as that song is compositionally, it came together really fucking fast, man. And that's when I was like, we've really got something here. Like, as far as a band, like, if we can bring a song like that together that quick, because there's a lot of moving pieces in that son of a bitch, man. A lot of moving pieces.
Now, who? Sorry if you already said this and it just slipped my brain, but who did you write the lyrics to that, or was that
No,
Julian?
I don't. Yeah, that was Julian. Julian's written the lyrics to everything except for the songs that Jacob wrote lyrics to. Jacob wrote lyrics to Jim Cantore. Jacob wrote lyrics to Nameless and My Shoes Hurt. And I believe everything else is Julian. I'm trying to think of a song that's not, and nothing's coming to mind. So sorry, Jules. Sorry, Jacob, if I gave you guys the wrong credits. I'm pretty sure I got it right.
I will say, Quarters mostly, I still, jury's out on if it's my favorite song of yours, but it's definitely my favorite from sort of the thematic lyrical content sense. There's like something that clicks with the lyrics on that one, and I love it.
Yeah, man, Jules had something to say when we wrote that. Like it was like a time when like he's reading a lot of like Noam Chomsky and just like I don't know when it hit, it's just he definitely brought it. He brought it. And you know what? Let me preface that by saying I love all of Julian's lyrics, but there's moments where you hit them at the right, like you have a new offering, a new instrumental offering, and you hit him at a point when like he's like really just charged with all this ammo because he's been reading all this shit. He's an avid reader, by the way. And I mean, we all kind of are, but especially Jules. If you ever get a chance to have beers with Jules and talk shit about history, oh my God, buckle up. But yeah, I really feel like he hit something with Quarters I remember when that was taking place in like the songs or whatever. I was like, if he can write that to what we gave him, he can do anything. That was like the moment for me, just the guitar player, that was like, I'm all in with Jules. Like, I know he can write whatever I throw to him, because the composition of that song is kind of weird too, and the whole approach he gave to it was like a perfect fucking fit. So.
Yeah, man. Absolutely agree. Sipworthy.
Sipworthy, that's actually the only song on there I don't play guitar. I'm playing bass.
Oh.
Yeah, that's Jordan, our bassist. See, that harkens back to that Dairokkan 2.0, where there used to be a change of instruments and shit.
Yeah.
We kind of brought that. We still kind of do it. Like whenever we do Sipworthy, it's usually the last song of the set. Jordan and I switch instruments. We kind of close the night out with that. But that's instrumentally, it's the song that Jordan had wrote for a former band, 52 card shorts of a full deck. And, I think they actually did record it, but I don't know if they ever played it live. But, he pitched it because we're like, what do you got? When he joined the band, what do you got? And, he pitched it, and I was like, I can fuck with that. And everybody just kind of jumped on board, and the vocals are way different than what they originally had. Like, Julian rewrote lyrics. I wrote my own bass line. I didn't do what was originally done. So we kind of made it our own, kind of separated. But the guitar part, for the most part, and I think the drums are pretty similar to what they were doing in the 52 card stage. But yeah, that's all Jordan. That's Jordan on guitar, babies.
Cool. Follow Your Balloon.
Ooh, that, you know what? A lot of people like this song, which I don't understand, because I'm like, man, I'm fucking shredding, bruh. That song I wrote, and originally it had even weirder twists and turns, and the guys kind of had to reel me back in. But, I as far as instrumentation, I wrote that, kind of, just noodling around in my room, coming from the thrash punk background. I'm like, I want to like showcase my riffs and all this shit. And at that point, we didn't have anything in the set that had a lot of twists and turns like that. So I wrote the composition out. We worked it out as a band. As far as lyric content goes, again, Mr. Show. There's a scene about David Cross has his red balloon, and the red balloon like just like takes him on this journey of like self-destruction. So we're like, you got to follow your balloon. Like, I don't know, kind of how we function. Everybody's like chasing something, or like, you know, and even when you're chasing something, like, it might have merit, it might have value, but if it's causing like destruction in your life, you know, maybe it's not a good idea.
Yeah, it is like, that track is a weird one among the weird ones, but
Yeah.
I still like it, and the whole thing about, especially now knowing the extra background there, because I should have said this a whole lot earlier, but I have never seen Mr. Show whatsoever, and it's still, cause I think we've talked about it before, or at least you mentioned it before. I've been meaning to watch it so I could kind of get more of the deep cuts on the record, but it's still something that's evaded me thus far. So,
dude, there's so many of them that have been uploaded to YouTube. Whenever you just want some like good sketch comedy, it's like what SNL and Mad TV wish they could be. But I'm also coming from it for the first time I ever saw Mr. Show. I was on acid. Like, this show is incredible. So, and most of the time when I have watched it, I was tripping. But Mr. Show is, especially with Now with Wheels, because even the title of the album, Now with Wheels, is a Mr. Show quote. What's weird is, like, I could, you know, when people are like, what are your influences? I'm more likely to cite, like, comedies than I am bands. I'm like, our influences are Mr. Show, Monty Python, Letterkenny. You know what I mean? Like,
oh shit, Letterkenny's so fucking good.
I'm telling you, man, that's our jam. Like, at rehearsal, like, most of the time we're just fucking cracking jokes and quoting Letterkenny or Mr. Show or The Simpsons or Futurama. Or most of the time, that's what it is like comedy shit. Tropic Thunder, that's the title of one of our new songs, Tropic Thunder. Just like comedy movies and shit. So.
Okay, you gotta give me a sec there, because Tropic Thunder is one of my favorite movies, and now I just can't stop thinking about Robert Downey Jr. But anyway,
I know, right?
God, how they ever made that movie, I don't know.
I don't know. I really don't know.
It's I can't, I don't even know what to say about it. I got so much to say about that shit. But anyways, back to the list. Orange Drink, the almost 6 minutes, right?
Yeah, with the intro, yeah. Yeah, that song was our white whale on that album, man. That song took so long to write. It was one that was just like in the back pocket forever, like while you're playing shows and writing in between shows and shit. And especially on my part, because you know, I'm not the best guitarist, so like that lead took me for fucking ever to write. But well, not just that. It was other pieces of the song too. But yeah, definitely that one. It took forever to write, and we just kept fucking with it. And we're like, it's not quite right. It's not quite right. It's not show ready. Blah blah blah. And I want to say the whole incubation period for that song was like 2 years or some shit, man. It just
Wow.
felt like it just felt like we were writing it forever, you know? It may not have been 2 years, but it felt like 2 years. It just felt like it was never really ready. And I remember the first time we played that live, or maybe it wasn't the first. Okay, don't fib, Dave. Maybe it was like the third. But after we finished our set, some random girl at the show was like, "Your guitar sounds pretty." I'm like, I just got done playing a fucking set and my guitar sounds pretty? That's the weirdest compliment I've ever got.
I mean, you do kind of get some tingles. I don't know what the fuck you call them, but the sound of that intro, I could see how someone's, oh, that's pretty, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Like, that was your takeaway from our whole set. But I do think we closed that set with Orange Drink, the two, though. So in her defense, I get it. It's the last thing you heard. You're gonna, whatever. But, yeah, that song took for fucking ever to write. And that was one, too, like, when we pitched it to Julian, I was like, good luck. Like, I don't know, like, instrumentally, like, if you imagine that song without lyrics, instrumentally, and you're handed that, and you're like, write something. Like, what are you gonna do? Like, it's not straightforward at fucking all. It's got a crazy construction, and he nailed it. He fucking nailed it. And that was like another moment, like Quarters for me, where I was like, dude, anything I throw this guy, he's gonna fucking nail. You know what I mean? Like, I can get as weird as I want, and he's gonna nail it. No. Jules really knocked it out of the park with Orange Drink too. The whole lyric content of it, you don't know if it's like an alien invasion or is it like talking about like U.S. imperialistic ambitions. You know what I mean? Like it's so vague, but yet so relatable to foreign policy for superpowers. Like, I don't know. It's a great song. It's one of my favorites on the album, just because of how long it took to write, and the fact that we actually pulled it off whenever Grant came up and recorded us at our warehouse.
It is like you said it's another one where it's like really showed what Julian could do, and like you could just give him anything and he'll like make something great out of it. But I think you could kind of apply that to you guys as a whole. Like, Orange Drink, it's just like a symbol of like, you fuckers could really pull some shit off, you know?
Right. Dude, you gotta hear what we're cooking up now, man. You know?
Man, I'm so excited, dude.
There's a song we have called It's in Your Hands that is very much in the same, I don't want to say same vein as Orange Drink because we don't want to repeat ourselves, but in that vein of like, it just keeps going, and where it started and where it ends up are completely fucking different. It's like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we do that. But doesn't, it's apples to oranges, I guess you could say, but yeah, we're still pushing ourselves, buddy. We're not resting on our laurels. We're still pushing ourselves.
I mean, I hope so. Even though you guys people would consider you like a veteran band at this point. You guys only have like 12 songs officially released, so.
Yeah. Well, we have Tennessee that didn't quite make the cut, which is like this silly like country / punk like ditty about some homeless guy that used to bug us all the time for cigarettes. Yeah, so we made a song about him to like troll him. Every time he'd come up, we'd play this song for him. It was kind of a dick move. It didn't make the cut for the album, but maybe on a B-side somewhere.
Yeah. Jamass. Or Jamass? Jamass. Okay.
No, you got it right. Jamass. That's how we call it. That song was written in pretty much one day.
Oh.
That's what. Yeah, it was one of those deals where we all show up, and at that point in time, I had stick up my butt, and I was like, we're writing a song today. And everybody was like, all right, cool, what do you got? And I didn't have anything, so I just played the first thing that came in my head, and it happened to be the main riff to Jamass, and we just, excuse me, I got a little indigestion.
That's cool.
We just happened to just flesh it out, and it was pretty much fleshed out in 1 to 2 jams. It was definitely fleshed out in one night. And I don't know, I'm pretty proud of it because it was that moment where we're like, okay, we need another song, and then we could whip out a song on the fly, but wasn't like 4 chords and the truth kind of song. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like it has something weird about it. It's got first of all, it's got a weird time signature change that happens. There's like weird stuff that's going on, but for us, it was a confidence booster for us because it was like, let's write a song, but instead of it just being like a GDC, you know, what basic. I don't want to say basic. I'm not trying to throw shades on.
Yeah. I know.
Some people will take that the wrong way because I appreciate those songs too, man. I love songs that are just GDC. It's all about the song, right?
Yeah.
How it all comes together and how it moves you. But when we all just showed up with a purpose and then we bang it out, man, it was a confidence booster. It just really like, I remember at that point what was going on, and I remember like how much we needed that win to just like carry us through another, I don't know, month and a half or whatever.
My shoes hurt.
My shoes hurt. Again, a Mr. Show quote. Imagine that, kids. My shoes hurt is a Mr. Show quote, and it means I love you. And it's a song all about the stuff that's happened to our crew. Not just Dairokkan, but, you know, the extended crew, all the people we know, all the stuff we've been through, and just how, like, no matter what anybody was going through, we were always there for us. Like, that chorus, that fucking means something to us, that, like, no matter what the fuck kind of mess you got yourself into, you could always turn to your friends. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
people had your back constantly. Like, it didn't matter. We didn't judge you. You know what? You got picked up for possession or, you know, I don't know, whatever it is, as long as you didn't fucking kill somebody. And even then, I'm not sure. We might have had your back too.
Depends on who it is, you know?
Yeah, in the scenario and like what's going on. But that's what that song's about, is that like it's a chronicle of like all, in almost every one of those lyrics, that shit happened in our crew. Like Jacob wrote that while he was in jail, serving time for, I'm not gonna air out his dirty laundry, but it was, don't worry about it, he's a good dude. It's a bullshit charge, but while he was in jail, he wrote those lyrics and had the basic chord progression in his head. And then, you know, we Dairokkan the shit out of it and we fucked with it. But yeah, that song too, that's another one that like we've even considered making that a video just to like chronicle, like, you know, it's more for like our friends because like there's so many lyrics that like that shit has fucking happened, man. Like none of that's bullshit. All that shit's happened in our crew. So that's my thoughts on My Shoes Hurt.
If this next one, Things and Stuff, isn't a Mr. Show reference, then I'm gonna be very confused. So explain Things and Stuff, because that's very much an outlier on the record.
All right, Things and Stuff. All right, let me preface this by saying, like, all the hardcore bands that we've ever played shows with and that are in the scene locally, We're not taking shots at you, man. Don't get butthurt over this. But it's kind of our mockery of hardcore music. That, like, the anger is there, but, like, there's nothing of substance, I guess.
Yeah.
It is, so, like, Things and Stuff is kind of our, and I hate to say it because, man, I got people in hardcore bands that I love to death, and I love hardcore, but it's our, we're taking the piss out of it.
Yeah.
Like, Things and Stuff, like, there's no meaning to a lot of those lyrics. Like, you're mad, and you're just yelling into a mic. That's basically hardcore.
That's a lot of hardcore, so.
You know what I mean? It's a lot of hardcore, but, I mean, dude, but there's some good hardcore bands in our area, too, that aren't like that. I mean, much love to Sin War. Drop your fucking EP soon. You hear me, Grant? But, yeah. Things and Stuff was written on the fly while Jacob was in jail. Me and our original drummer Stick just raged out on the riffs and shit. We came up with most of it. Jacob gets out of jail. We kind of polished it up, and then we just made it silly. Like, take the piss out of hardcore. Like, you're mad, but, like, you're not saying anything of substance, I guess, is the critique. I don't know. I
can see that,
Yeah, it's just, you're mad. We get it, dude. You're mad. So you might as well just be yelling Things and Stuff.
Again, I wish you could see the St. Louis hardcore scene because, again, obviously not all bands, but I have a couple CDs in my collection where it's just 30 minutes of Things and Stuff, so.
Yeah, then you're getting the joke. You're totally getting the joke. Hey, man, I love hardcore too. Like, I still fuck with Two Piece. And, like, come on. Like, lyrically, I mean, you're not going to enlighten yourself with Two Piece, but it gets the blood going. It gets the blood going. So, but yeah, that's Things and Stuff. It's our silly song on the album as far as, kind of showcase our sense of humor and our satire of the hardcore scene. And it's not like, again, I gotta say, man, much love to a lot of the hardcore scene in Treasure Coast because there's a lot of good bands around here.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about you guys, but you know who I'm talking about. That's all I'm gonna say.
Okay, the final track on Now With Wheels, Nameless.
Nameless. Again, Jacob writing in jail. And it's, that song, he just had the basic fundamental chord movements and, the lyric. And the lyric, at least this is my interpretation. I don't want to speak for Jacob. He wrote the shit, but at least my interpretation is like it's about like the yearning when you're in a band and you're seeing other bands like make it or like other bands succeed where your band's not, and you're like you're almost there but you're not quite there. You're like on the outside looking in scenario.
Yeah.
And then like it's like you still can't give it up because you're because anytime you are at your lowest point, the music, even though that band's not quite hitting, even at your lowest point, it's still getting through your dark times. Like, even if your band is, like 3 people are paying attention to you when you're playing a show, like that band is still getting you through, like, whatever you're going through personally. Like, so it's more of like a no surrender. Like, I'm not going to give up on music or give up on my band just because, I see this band that started 2 minutes ago is already taken off and my band's still treading water. I'm not going to give up. I'm going to stick it out. That's that's kind of the crux of what I take from the song, my personal take. Jacob, sorry if I didn't get it right, but that's how I take it. That's how it hits me, is like, you know, because we've seen it. We've seen it. You know, we've been a band 11 years. And we've seen bands that, you know, formed and like 3 months later, you know, they're playing these big ass fucking shows, and I get it. You know.
I mean,
it's,
you go ahead. Oh, okay.
Nah, I'm good. Go for it.
I share your same kind of, I have the same takeaway when it comes to listening to that song, and to me, it's very powerful, even though I'm nowhere close to like your guys' level. I don't want to say like frustration and make you guys sound petty, but you did tread water for a decent amount of time with like all the craziness in 11 years and shit. But
for sure.
I really feel that song, and I know I'm gonna probably butcher the line here, but it's like we toured around everywhere, who gives a shit, and then it just like breaks into, I guess, your guitar riff right there, and that just fucking hits me all the time. I can't even explain it. It's such like it just hits me right in a certain area, and I'm like, my God, is that not true, you know?
Dude, and that's what we've tried to do, is like write from stuff that it is drawn from actual experience. Like none of this stuff is fiction. Like none of it's fiction. Well, maybe, you know, Orange Drink gets a little weird, but that's speculative fiction. But as far as like songs like Now with Wheel, I'm sorry, but My Shoes Hurt, Nameless, these songs, you know, again, Jacob wrote the lyrics when he was in jail, so he has, you know, downtime and he's reflecting and all this stuff. So, but it's like, it's true. We've played so many shows over the years. Like, I don't know what we're up to, how many shows we played, but it's a fucking lot. And it just felt like, yeah, we'll make fans like 1 or 2 shows here and there, but we hadn't found our audience.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And that's kind of what, and that's also the crickets on the album, is like we hadn't found our audience for fucking ever, is what it felt like, because, you know, we're like the odd kid out in the local scene. The local scene is like, you're either doing traditional straight up like skate punk like stuff, or you're doing hardcore. And we're in this like weird space in the middle where it's like, well, we listen to all those bands and we love all those fucking bands and we'll play shows with those bands, but that's not what we're doing. Like, we're going to introduce a little bit of psychedelia, and we're going to introduce a little bit of this and that, and we're not going to repeat ourselves. And some people gravitate to that, but a lot of people, it's like crickets. You know, it's like, you know, we're trying to mix it up and not be like every song in our set is the same fucking thing.
Yeah.
And it gets frustrating when you don't find your audience. And I guess, like, with Now with Wheels, a lot of that frustration came out of, like, we know we've got something that we all believe in, but it still hadn't felt like we found our audience. Like, when we play live shows and stuff, like, yeah, you know, people like it because you're giving a good performance, but at the same time, are they going to buy your shirt? Are they going to follow you on Facebook or Instagram, or, you know what I mean? Or is it actually going to translate into a fan? No, not really. So it felt like, the longest time, it felt like we were beating our heads against this wall. So that frustration comes out Now with Wheels. And I think as the album as a whole, I think that kind of is, like, you hear a lot of that. I hear a lot of that anyway, I should say. I mean, you know, you take from it what you will, but for me, I hear a lot of that of, like, we're just going to keep doing us. And if people like it, cool. Otherwise, whatever, we're still gonna do us. And I'm pretty ecstatic about that we're still carrying that spirit through. And I mean, don't get me wrong, we've turned a lot of people on. We've come a long way from where we started. And even the last 5 years, or actually since Jordan came in the mix, like we've turned a lot of people on, especially locally. So excited about what the future holds, my friend.
Same here, man. Well, shit, it's my little call thing says we've been talking for like the length of a feature movie now, but
my man.
I mean, hey, I've had a blast talking with you. I hope.
Dude, I've had a blast. It's good to connect with you. I mean, I know we've had exchanges on text and Discord and, whatever, but yeah, it's good to rap with you, brother. It's good to rap with you.
Totally, man. Is there any final thing you gotta say, man?
All right. Closing thoughts from Dave. If you like Now with Wheels and you like the more pushing progressive side of Now with Wheels, buckle your seatbelts, because what we're riding, so good. Once it hits your lips, so good. So good. It's so good. But we're not resting. We're thirsty. We're coming.
I hear you, man. Well, this has been Dave from Dairokkan, so we're gonna throw it back to the live show now, and I hope you guys have all enjoyed.